Hi, everybody. I want to begin this episode by reading to you a quote from my book, Resolve, Your Blueprint for Intentional Success. The letter E, the first letter E in Resolve, is a very, very important letter because this particular behavior is something that we all need to really work on in a very positive, proactive, forward-thinking mindset. Let me read this quote. It reads as follows, and it's from Edward Bond. If you engage people on a vital, important level, they will respond. If you engage people on a vital, important level, they will respond. Steve Chandler, who wrote The Prosperous Coach, said that the greatest gift that a coach can give to people is a powerful conversation. And a powerful conversation involves engaging the individual not to tell them your story, but to listen to their story. I know that I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a clinical mental health practitioner of any type, any way, form, shape, or fashion. I'm not professionally credentialed, but I will put my 74 years of life experience up against any individual with that kind of training and background, because the experiential process of having engaged life can either move you in a better direction, or it can, in a sense, stop you in your tracks and cause you to move backwards. Welcome to Resolve to Live Forward. In today's episode, as we talk about the power word resolve, which here is defined as having a definite, firm plan of action, among the action behaviors that we practice each and every single day using each letter of the word resolve, the second letter, E, stands for engage or engagement. And here in this particular situation, to engage means to get it going, to do it. Here's a good example. I don't know how many of you out there are Star Trek fans. I happen to like the genre, and I've enjoyed some of the spinoffs. And I remember that one of the spinoffs of Star Trek, after we had the original series way, way back when, it was William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and then we had the movies that they made that starred the same characters from the television series. We then come with a spinoff called Star Trek: The Next Generation. Of course, there have been many more iterations of that since, and some have been remarkably good and some have been not so great. But in Star Trek: The Next Generation, we're introduced, of course, to a much more advanced version of the Starship Enterprise and a captain by the name of Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart, a great actor, by the way. And in that particular genre, that particular styling of the Star Trek motif, he has a helmsman, like they all do, and he gives the helmsman a course, plot a course 4. And then the helmsman says, Captain, the course is plotted, ready. And he says simply the word engage. For him, engage means let's do it. I know that in Star Trek Discovery, they said, let's fly. But engage is kind of like that. Let's fly. Let's get out there and let's spread our wings and let's do something amazing. So to engage, to me, is really to put yourself into life with the right mindset, with an open mind, with an end in mind for the day, but more importantly, looking for and hoping to see and to engage every opportunity that comes your way, while at the same time learning how to pinpoint the things that you want to avoid and stay away from, because life is not always about good opportunities. Sometimes there are less than favorable opportunities that take place. But if you are looking with a positive mindset, a proactive mindset, you're always looking for the opportunities to engage something and experience something. Let's talk about it on several levels. If you wake up in the morning, you may, as soon as you wake up, already begin to have your mind flooded with different types of thoughts and concerns. I mention concerns because I think we all, to a degree, because of the collection of experiences and stimuli that we've had over the course of our lives, know that there are some things that are with us simply because time has woven the fabric of who we are and how we perceive life. And there are circumstances where when we wake up, we might have had, for example, a dream that was not quite as pleasant as possible. Sometimes we wake up and we remember absolutely nothing, but we know in our mind we had to have dreamed, or at least we did dream. We also wake up to the physical aches and pains of the fact that we're getting older. I have a form of arthritis, but arthritis is not unusual. Mine just happens to be wear and tear. Things start to break down. Now, that could be a negative influence. That could be a negative impulse. That could be a negative stimuli in our life. But we want to try to remember that the experience of having a new day opens up opportunities. And the opportunities include not just engaging the act of getting up and getting started with the day, but the opportunities to engage things throughout the course of the day, whether it's person, place, or thing. Life is full of nouns, and we have verbs as to how we respond to them. To engage is a verb. I will engage. I will engage that opportunity. I will engage that surprise. I will engage that individual. Engagement has a lot of different definitions, as we are beginning to realize. The English language has a lot of these words which have more than just one meaning. And every day, too, in the life that we live, as we see in this world more and more things being invented and created and designed, we're seeing new words that we have adopted. And I don't know if you know this, but every year, major dictionary compiling groups, I think of, for example, Merriam-Webster, for one, they research the new words that have suddenly come into fashion. These words may represent technical, they may represent clothing, they may represent food, they may represent biological things, they may represent behaviors or actions or political forms or world situations or earthly situations or universal, planetary, the whole nine. You could write a list. But these new words are deemed to be a part of the jargon of humanity, and they're added to the dictionary. And there are literally millions upon millions of words. And then, in addition to that, because we have a world that is so diverse and we have literally hundreds upon hundreds of languages and dialects, there are words there that are a part of that. And some of those words wind up coming into our particular vocabulary. But in the course of these words, the word engagement can have many different meanings. An engagement, for example, is when two people come together and they engage for a specific purpose. We often think of it with marriage. They're betrothed. They're going to plan to get married and form a union with each other, both spiritual and financial and emotional and legal. And these engagements are supposed to be happy things. There are engagements such as activities, like an engagement of a big gala or a ball or a big party or a banquet. And that is an engagement that you want to go to. And there's going to be particular people there that you're going to get the chance to see or to experience. But in your life, you are involved in the opportunity to engage and therefore to have the chance not just to engage people, but to engage life itself and the events that will happen in the day. But within that day, there may also be engagements that you're going to be taking part in and going to that you're looking forward to. Things that you've looked up, for example, or organizations that you're associated with that are having these events. When you engage, what you're doing is you're putting yourself into that situation. You're allowing yourself to go into it. Now, getting back to that statement that I said about powerful conversations from Steve Chandler, when you engage people, are you engaging them solely for the purposes of what you want to put into it and what you want them to get out of it from you and about the things that matter to you? Or are you willing to engage someone primarily for the purpose of finding out as much about them as you can? It's kind of like the magic of building a relationship when you see someone that you're attracted to and you want to know as much about them as possible because this individual just attracts you. The dating relationships that I had memories of my late wife, Donna, when we first started developing an attraction for each other while we were in college. I was a senior. She was a junior. She lived in a dormitory for women because on the college that I went to, and this is back in 1971, 72, actually 1972, 73, excuse me, sorry, I'm getting my dates wrong. This college was a private church-sponsored college, so they weren't co-ed dorms. There were women's dorms and men's dorms, and I was in a men's dorm, which sat right next to a woman's dorm. Pretty cool, huh? And I would walk from my dorm, and I'd always have to walk past this dormitory that she was from in order to go to the cafeteria, to the dining hall that was the campus eatery. And she would sometimes come out and I would see her. And I had met her through different types of activities that were taking place on campus. It was still very much early in the college era. I would say it was sometime around October of 1972. And on this particular day, she comes walking out and I turn and I see her. And of course, my eyes immediately catch her legs. You see, the girls didn't wear pants on campus. They wore skirts or dresses. And she was wearing what we would call back in 1972 a mini skirt. And she had legs to die for. And I saw her coming towards me, and she had every intent to come towards me because there's something about engaging each other through eye contact that sends a signal. My friend Mark Guy, the host of Speak Brave, says that there is an energy exchange that we have with humanity. Speakers often talk about this energy exchange because it's how they are able to look across the audience and find people that are picking up on their speaking cues and are attentive. You've got them. You've brought them in and they are focused on what you're saying. That's the case of the attractiveness process whenever you're looking at possibly finding someone that you find attractive, that you want to date, and it could turn into be the person that you wind up marrying and becomes your life partner, your soulmate. And she came out of that dormitory. She asked me what I was doing. I told her I was going to breakfast. And she asked me, would you like to have someone go have breakfast with you? And I said, absolutely, let's go. And we had the opportunity while having breakfast to have what I would call a powerful conversation. But it wasn't just me talking about me. I wanted to know as much about this lady as I could possibly learn. And over time, those visits with each other, those times together grew more frequent, whether they were dates or whether they were with other friends and peers at college. But that day did arrive when I finally realized that I didn't want to spend my time or the bulk of my time with anyone more than her. And so it became the point where I wanted to engage her constantly, even to the point of saying, if I were to get married, this is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And so thus you pop that question, as they say. I asked her to marry me. That was in March of 1973. We announced our engagement, and I still remember the date, April the 6th, 1973. And on August the 18th, we met, engaged, and we declared promises for life to each other. And our particular ceremony for marriage was what we call holy matrimony, which is one of the sacraments of the Judeo-Christian Church. So it's done in the presence of followers of Jesus Christ and based upon Scripture. And it's a union that we called a Trinitarian union. Husband, wife, and God as the center, but it's a triangle. That's just our mindset and how we were raised. And that relationship, which started with the dating and the engagement and realizing that we were in love with each other and culminated in us getting married on August the 18th of 1973, lasted until June the 2nd of 2019, when the woman that I had married and had been married to for almost 46 years, but I'd been in love with for over 46 years, died right before my very eyes. I engaged the experience of trauma and loss that day. It's devastating. There are people out there listening to this podcast who understand how that feels. And for some of them, it's been a very, very deep, dark journey in their life. And they have found it difficult to move forward, and they don't want to engage life like they used to. On the other hand, there are people that every day simply love the opportunity to get out there and find out what they can do in discovery, while other people have jobs that they go to every day and they engage the job based upon the way they're trained. But they don't necessarily like the job anymore. They don't love the work anymore, but maybe they enjoy the surroundings and the people that they work with. But over the course of years, as you engage people, there are relationships that work and there are relationships that simply don't work. But all in all, in the process, the thing that I want to point out is that when you engage life, you're engaging life starting with people, and you're engaging life starting with circumstances and events and opportunities. And there are things that come at you every day, and you cannot predict. Now, I've also talked about this idea before with people in mindset coaching about borrowing trouble. I like to refer to it as borrow trouble from tomorrow today. Bad thing. Because you see, that's a fear factor. That creates a churning inside of us and a fear. You know this. I'm not talking to people that don't get it. Everybody that's watching and listening to this podcast understands this process. We're all guilty of it at some time, some of us more so than others, and that's not a criticism. The whole purpose of learning how to resolve to live forward is about how to engage each and every single day with the idea of the opportunities that it presents, the teaching opportunities that it presents, the challenges that it presents, and the delights that can be found if you will just slow down and pay more attention and be more anchored in today, in the moment. Yes, we want to lay plans. We want to lay out a schedule. We want to have a process, as John Maxwell says, a process that we follow because it helps us to orderly schedule our daily activities while also laying foundations for what we hope to accomplish in the days to come. I'm not saying don't set goals. You should be setting goals, but your goals, long term, intermediate, must have immediate and short term goals, because you can't get from point A to point B without making sure that you touch all the various components that get you to point B. It just stands to reason. It'd be nice if we could snap our finger and instantly go from idea to the completion of the idea and its realization. But things don't work that way. In life, everything about what you do, everything about what we do is engaging. So in conversations, when you have the opportunity to get into the one-on-one in what I do in the coaching world, and this is not original to me, I can tell you that having read Steve Chandler, and he is brilliant, and also having had the benefit of other coaches who have taught me many of these behaviors and traits, I realized that we can spend too much time talking about us. There is this concept of team where you've heard the phrase, there is no I in team. I, in this case, is first person singular. I want to do this. I will do this. I suggest this. I recommend this. I. Sometimes when you are in a teaching opportunity, you might say to that person, I noticed that you struggled with something. I noticed that you did this. Then I would say, I could tell it was giving you a problem. I want you to know I know how it feels. However, let me tell you what I found has helped me, and I hope it helps you. That's what I call positive feedback with a reinforcing mechanism that says, I'm not being critical, I'm trying to be helpful. But in powerful conversations, you need to eliminate the I. It becomes us, we, but more important, it becomes you. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to listen. There's a word. Listen. This past week, one of the things I said, and there I go with the letter I again, the word I. I wrote in a post on Facebook and on LinkedIn, we need to grasp and harness the power of intentional listening. Intentional listening is a choice, and it takes hard work. We don't do it naturally because over the course of our lives, we tend to think about what's in it for us. That doesn't mean that you're a sociopath or a malcontent, but it can lead to very, very self-centered and ego-driven behavior, even to the point of being narcissistic. And the principal purpose in a powerful conversation when you engage an individual is the power of intentional listening. Opportunities that happen, circumstances that happen, our fight or flight mechanism is always operating because the things that we have learned through experiential living equip us to be able to at least begin to analyze and determine, based upon response, how we are going to react to the situation. But that type of engagement I can save for another podcast. This engagement is about relationship building. I want to offer to you this particular formula. It's not original, but I will preface it by telling you that you've heard the phrase, we have one mouth and two ears. Therefore, we should listen twice as much as we speak. And it's a good adage. And if you're in a conversation on a telephone, on a device where you can't see the person, yes, it's communication through hearing and vocalizing. You have to listen and you have to communicate, but you would still want to focus on listening. So I offer you this suggestion when it comes to these relationships that you are working upon or these opportunities that you are going to engage. And this is what I'm trying to establish personally for us as the behavior that we should emulate when we're involved in interpersonal relations. You have two ears, yes, but you also have two eyes. Still, you only have one mouth. What if we used an 80-20 behavior when it comes to conversations with people? And 80% or more of the time, we are watching and listening. And we are watching and listening with focused thinking. There is a caveat there. Often when we hear something, we're running through our mind what a response might be. One of the things that we should try to do when we're having conversations with people, and these conversations can range through all kinds of subject matter, so I'm not going to talk about whether it's a difficult conversation, an educational conversation, a training conversation, a laughter conversation, a fun conversation, a relationship building conversation of any type. There's nothing wrong with having, if this conversation is a powerful conversation and you're seeking to work with this individual to find answers that will help them, writing down something they said so that you can ask them a follow-up question is perfectly acceptable. I highly recommend it. Now, if you have that kind of a mind that can compartmentalize and outline mentally and save those questions and keep them or prioritize them so that there is a question that is of the utmost importance and then other follow-up questions proceed behind it, then you're a gifted individual, because all of us have different types of minds and therefore our cognitive abilities and our abilities in conversations can vary. But if we're intentionally focused on learning as much as we can about the person that we're talking to, we are engaging them and it's about them, and we want to know as much as we can about them, then the conversation is going to be dominated by them because you intentionally chose to let it be that way. It eliminates arguments, obviously, because an argument is just, in my opinion, simply trying to persuade somebody to accept your premise. And there is a time and a place for things like that as well. But too often, as you and I can see in this world that we live in, there's a lot of acrimony, even rancor, divisiveness, and a lot of bad things happen when people disagree. They turn it into something extraordinarily personal, and it results in, well, study history. One of the things that mankind has been persistently doing throughout the course of recorded history is going to war. Another subject for another day. Engage people with powerful conversations for the opportunity to learn as much as you can about how they think, feel, and why they act the way they do. Learn what really fires their passion. Learn what really gives them purpose. And in the coaching aspect, learn what it is that they are wanting and help them find it. Help them find it. Help them to talk their way through the muck that they're stuck in. Help them discover that with the right mindset, they can shift from where they're stuck, get unstuck, and move towards meaningfulness and ultimately vibrancy. Helping others to find how they can make themselves better should be the mission of our life. Yes, I agree with those of you who are thinking you can't do that with everybody. That's absolutely correct. You can't. Don't get frustrated. I believe with all my heart that if I were to break it down to 10 engagement opportunities with people on any given time frame, I would feel that 9 out of those 10, some form of a relationship can be created, whether it's close, whether it's just an association, whether it's collaborative, whether it's just casual but friendly. That can happen every day. Sometimes it's just drawing a smile and a kind word and passing a smile and a kind word on. But there will be those people that don't like you. And if you want to really make your life less aggravating, I have chosen in my line of work, particularly when I'm speaking publicly as a professional speaker, I've chosen to use the rule of 3. In the rule of 3, I accept the fact that standing on that platform in front of that audience, a third of them don't care about what I have to say and really may not even like me and what my message is all about. I also have come to accept that a third of the people might like what it is that I have to say, but probably they're just too busy, too distracted with their own cares of life to be bothered with it. They have other things on their mind. I'm guilty of that. But I would like to hope that the remaining third, if I do what I'm doing correctly, and if I'm having an energy exchange with them, they will connect with me. It's amazing how we can perceive attentiveness and the energy that passes between people. When you engage life, if you engage positively, more than likely, in the highest percentage of times, there'll be a positive response. But if not, move on. Move on. Not every opportunity that you have to engage in the course of a day, person, place, or thing, is to your benefit. But all of these, when done with the right mindset, can help you become a better version of yourself. And you just never really also know what kind of seeds you plant that are positive in the lives of people. The letter E, the first letter E in the word resolve, is for engage or engagement or engaging. And in the correct context, it is engaging people and engaging the events of life and the opportunities that those present and the warnings and the danger signs that they present. It is being alert to your circumstances in the immediate. It's living more fully in the moment. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Resolve to Live Forward. I'm John Morrow. You can check out this and other things about Resolve to Live Forward at my website, johnmorrowcoaching.com. That's John, John, Morrow, Morrow, coaching.com. You're welcome to email me, john@johnmorrowcoaching.com. You can also find me as John Morrow DTM and the moniker I Never Noticed, one of my brandings, on Facebook and LinkedIn. My desire is that you respond. I realize that not everyone will like this, but those of you that are getting something from it, your feedback's important because it helps me to better define what I can do for you, and at the same time know what I can do for you that is the best I can possibly give to you. I will be back again next week with another fresh episode of this program. But until then, let me once again remind you of the quote that is in my book, Resolve, Your Blueprint for Intentional Success. It's available on Amazon in paperback and also in reading form for Kindle. If you engage people on a vital, important level, they will respond. Edward Bond. John Morrow saying, thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been my delight. Be blessed. Live happy. Live healthy. Live hopeful. And frankly, live hilariously. So long for now.